Our body needs essential fatty acids, and it needs them in a good blend. Some of the essential fatty acids are used as building blocks for what are called prostaglandins, which then are used as building blocks for hormones, for our immune system, many other things in the body. Some of them have a beneficial effect, some have an opposite effect. They may cause inflammation, they may act against the ones that are trying to create a positive hormonal balance. So why? You hear this argument that it's good for us to eat meat because our ancestors ate meat. Thousands of years ago, tens of thousands of years ago, our ancestors ate meat. And that's true. And the meat that they were eating, those animals were eating grass. And from the grass, they got an essential fatty acid blend in the meat that's actually beneficial for humans. What's mostly available now, the meat is fed corn, right? And it becomes fatty. Actually, Americans tend to like this. It makes a very juicy meat. And the essential fatty acid profile is completely wrong for our bodies. So commercial meat actually is not healthy, but you can get at Whole Foods grass-fed, grass-finished meat. And that means it's going to have, like from the ancient days, it's going to have the essential fatty acid profile that human beings evolved to be able to eat that kind of meat. And probably not in huge quantities. Probably, like you look at the way they eat meat in China, for example, little strips of it as a condiment, a lot of rice, a lot of vegetables, little meat. Human beings have evolved eating meat like this, and it seems like a lot of people have found that's a healthy way to do it. You want to have good essential fatty acids. When we talk about hormone balancing, one approach is homeopathy because it's giving the body information. It's reminding the body. The body knows how to create a good balance. It gets a little thrown out of whack. And one of the ways it does is by our food supply and by all the poor quality essential fatty acids. So it's great to take a homeopathic remedy that will teach your body how to create a better balance, but you also need the building blocks, which is the foods and the supplements and things like that. It's like if you have a beautiful house and a tree falls through the roof and you want to restore it, it would be really great to find the architect's blueprint for the original design of the house. That's like the homeopathic remedy. But you also need the stuff. You need the shingles and the bricks and the mortar, whatever. You need the stuff to actually build it with. So this is when we're getting into the supplements and the food and the quality of the food that you're eating. So essential fatty acids are especially important for women, and especially in these hormonal times when our hormones tend to be shifting or creating problems for us. That can happen partly because we're just not giving our body the good building blocks. But there are different ways to do this. You can take flax oil, you can take, here's what I would actually do. The best thing, if you really want to do it the best way, I would get hemp seeds and flax seeds and add a little bit of those because it's so good to get the fresh raw seeds. I would get them whole, keep them in the freezer, take out a tablespoon or so at a time and put them in a blender. Great thing to do is make a smoothie for yourself and grind them up right before you use them. Or you can grind them and just sprinkle them on a salad or something. Right when they're first broken open with a blender or with a little coffee bean grinder or seed, spice grinder, when they're first broken open is when the essential fatty acids are right there, easy for your body to take in, but they're being exposed to air. And as soon as they're exposed to air, they start to oxidize and they lose their they lose their oomph, which is why it's not so great to buy ground flaxseed or ground hemp seed. It's so easy. This is so easy to do. You just get the whole seeds, keep them in the freezer. I'm also going to recommend, out of all the things I've recommended to my clients over the years, the one favorite thing, super duper, heavy duty, high horsepower blender. And you would think, I got a blender. Why do I need a Vitamix? Well, you can throw things in there. One thing you can do, you can make green smoothies. And you cannot imagine, you could take a green leafy vegetable. This probably sounds disgusting. I thought it sounded disgusting. You take a green leafy vegetable, you throw it in with like bananas and frozen strawberries or berries or something, and a little almond milk or coconut milk, and just blend it for a few seconds, and it turns into this frothy, foamy, greeny, yummy not vegetably tasting thing. It tastes like fruit. And if you have kids, it's a way to get your kids to eat vegetables. They're going to love this stuff. Given how busy people are, and especially how important it is to get a good breakfast, this is a way that in like 5 minutes you can make yourself a fabulous breakfast in which you get your entire day's supply. According to most nutritionists, let's say mainstream nutritionists say you need 5 servings a day. You're going to get them all right in that smoothie. Personally, I think you need a lot more than that. But you get off to this great start. You get your green vegetable in there. You get some fruits in there. You get your flax and hemp seeds. You put those in first so they get all buzzed up. It takes a second. I put in a tablespoon, but you might want to start with a teaspoon until you get used to the taste. Hemp seeds basically have no taste. Flax does have a little bit of a taste, so that you might want to build up to gradually. I would do those, and I'd also do the flax and hemp seeds, just to get the fresh stuff, like just fresh right there. Yeah. And then I mentioned coconut milk, because we're finding that coconut milk has a substance in it that's good for the brain. That we feel like our brains are kind of like, it's like the clock that's kind of winding down or something as we get older. So there's a couple of things we're going to do for that. One of them is called Brain Gym. Brain Gym is a series of exercises that you can do as you're getting older. It's good for kids with ADD. You can do it for people who've had a stroke. I did it when I had my homeopathy school. I'd have people sitting and listening to me for 8 hours at a time, and they'd really start to, the eyelids would be drooping. We'd stand up, we'd do some brain gym together. I'm going to show you a really simple brain gym exercise. All you have to do, it's called crossing the midline. It's called cross crawl. It goes like this. You're just touching your elbow to your knee, or you can do it behind your back like this. And the idea is that the two halves of your brain are connected by something called the corpus callosum. And as you're doing anything across the midline, as you're touching like this across the midline, you're stimulating that pathway of information across the corpus callosum. You're helping to establish that pathway. It seems to work. So this is just a very, very simple form of it. There are many, many other brain gym exercises, and each one helps a certain kind of patterning in the brain. So you're going to do your brain gym, and then you're also going to do coconut milk and maybe coconut oil. And that's because people are finding that coconut, which we used to think was bad because it's a saturated fat, now we're finding it's not quite so simple, that actually some of these saturated fats are good. It used to be said, okay, coconut oil is going to raise your cholesterol. Now we know it's actually raising the good cholesterol. It's good for the brain and the nervous system. So there's a doctor whose husband had Alzheimer's, and she went to great lengths to explore all different ways to treat him, to help him come out of his Alzheimer's. And I think I heard or read the way she got the idea was she met people, this couple, of which the wife was Filipino and the husband was American, and he looked about 20 years older than she did. And the doctor's looking at this couple thinking, what's the deal here? Well, the husband wouldn't eat the Filipino cooking, and the wife would cook in coconut oil and also massage coconut oil into herself. And so this doctor is looking at how young this woman is with this coconut oil, and she started giving it to her husband. So you can see in this video on YouTube, she says, he took one of the standard tests for Alzheimer's, which is to draw clock faces. And he could barely even make a circle, let alone write in the numbers and draw in the hands. 2 weeks later, with the coconut oil, he's drawing these nice little circles with the hands, the arrows, and everything. 3 weeks later, he's filling in all the numbers. And not only that, he's carrying on a conversation. He has expression. He's not just flat affect. So she's written a book, and there's a 5-minute video on YouTube in which she talks about this discovery of coconut oil for Alzheimer's. So I figure if it can help Alzheimer's, it's probably going to do something for us in our brains too. And it shows suggestions for how to use it. It shows her making oatmeal and taking like a gob of coconut oil. It solidifies at room temperature, but easily melts. Stirring it into his oatmeal, that's one way you could do it. You could also put it on granola, for example. You could use it in baking or cooking. That's what the Filipino lady was using it for her stir fries and so forth. It has to be good quality. So pretty much at Whole Foods, you're going to find good quality coconut oil. It's really good for the skin. Actually, somebody asked about vaginal dryness. Personally, that's what I would do is coconut oil. Or vitamin E oil, and you can of course open a capsule and squeeze it out, which is laborious, but you can also get a little thing of vitamin E oil in health food stores, and you could just try that. I've had my women clients tell me they've tried those two things. So let's talk about insomnia. Well, there are different reasons, of course. It's a blend of herbs like passion flower and valerian that have traditionally been used for centuries for calming. The only thing is that some people with valerian will react, like they get almost like a little hangover kind of feeling. They'll feel like a little headachy or something the next day. Not so good. When you reduce it to a very mild homeopathic potency of it, it's giving the information from the valerian, but you're not getting the full strength, so people tend to feel fine when they wake up. There are many different reasons why people lie awake. Sometimes it's a hormonal thing, so then you find the right remedy for hormonal balancing. Sometimes there's a problem with simply getting to sleep, and I'm going to suggest some things. In other words, whether you're hormonal or not, here are some things, basic ideas for getting to sleep. One is you really want to avoid screen time before going to sleep for two reasons. One is electromagnetic fields. You really want to, if at all possible, not have electronics in your bedroom. I really recommend a book called Zapped by Anne Louise Gittleman. She talks about all the many, many effects that electromagnetic fields have on us. And she also tells you what to do about them. So it's the first half of the book totally scary, second half of the book totally empowering. So one of the reasons we have trouble sleeping is the electromagnetic fields in our bedrooms. So there's suggestions for minimizing that. But what about if you have a home office, so you're not in your bedroom, but you're still either watching TV or working on the computer until it's just about time to go to sleep? What's the problem with that? The problem is that these screens emit, like the range of light waves that they emit are very strong on blue light. And blue light, when it goes to our pineal gland, it makes us think, our brain thinks, oh my gosh, blue sky, it's the middle of the day. And it doesn't start making melatonin. So what you can do is you can get blue light blocking glasses. You can just get them online. They're inexpensive. So if you feel like maybe you have a busy household, you have kids to get to bed, and your only time to use the computer is right before you go to sleep, maybe you don't have a choice about that, then you can get these special glasses that just simply block the blue light. For at least an hour before bed, it would be wise, if you do need to be on the computer, to get these blue light blocking glasses, because you want your brain to start producing melatonin. And to do that, it really wants darkness to start producing melatonin, which is a hormone that has to do with sleep. My own personal opinion, it's not great to fall asleep with something like the news on, where all the stuff is going into your brain, your consciousness, and you're not filtering it. So here's another hint. If you get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, if you can possibly find your way without turning the light on, you might find it's easier to go back to sleep, because the light is going to signal your body, oh, daylight, time to wake up, time to stop making melatonin. You can also get melatonin as a supplement, and there are other reasons to take melatonin. There's some evidence that it's protective against breast cancer. So this is a simple thing you could get in Whole Foods or Cambridge Naturals, my favorite health food store. So you might consider just getting some melatonin, keeping it by your bed to help you go to sleep, and also think about it that you're helping to protect yourself against breast cancer at the same time. These are sort of generic things. They could apply to men or women of any age. The idea of minimizing electronics, minimizing blue light, using melatonin. If it's hormonal, if you can find the remedy, homeopathic remedy that's good for you in general, that will help, and also balancing your hormones with good essential fatty acids and so forth. There are other reasons why people might lie awake or might wake up and not be able to get to sleep. And I'll just mention a couple of them in case they apply to you. I mentioned this remedy, Ignatia. This is not the same as the herb, Echinacea. This is a homeopathic remedy, Ignatia. I mentioned it as the kind of the emotional first aid remedy. It has a lot to do with emotions. In terms of sleep, it's called the rehearsal remedy. And it's for people who lie awake thinking, that guy is such a jerk. I wish I had just told him off. Or they lie awake thinking, you know, what I wish I had said to my boss, or what I want to say to my boss the next day. So they're thinking a lot about different emotional situations that they're in. They're kind of stewing over an emotional situation and kind of second guessing what they might have said or done and planning what else they might say or do. That's why it's called the rehearsal remedy. It's like they're kind of planning how to deal with an emotional situation. So if that's your reason for lying awake, I would try Ignatia. You could keep it by your bed and just pop a couple pellets in if you have a hard time sleeping. Another favorite is called Nux. And then the second word is vomica. So mostly we use it for vomiting and for nausea and for everything in the GI tract. It's for acid reflux, it's for constipation, it's for hemorrhoids, many, many different things. But it's also for people who wake up in the middle of the night and they have a busy mind and they're thinking about their business, or they're thinking about what they're going to do to make money, or they're thinking about something career or ambition oriented. And often the reason why they might have woken up is that they just ate something really spicy, or they're using too many stimulants. So of course you know not to drink coffee right before you go to bed. You know that. But somebody who needs nux vomica, who's very ambitious, competitive, wanting to get ahead, business oriented, and then somebody who's working long hours, and the way they keep themselves working is by using various kinds of stimulants, which could be anything from coffee to cigarettes to pizza, spicy food, junk food. They often have indigestion because they're sitting at their desk, not really paying attention to what they're eating because they want to work. And then they might wake up in the middle of the night with indigestion, not be able to get back to sleep, and then lie there thinking about business stuff. When homeopathy was first developed 200 years ago, sepia was for women and nux vomica was for men. There were very clear gender roles. Now we have businesswomen who need nux vomica because they're ambitious and competitive and go, 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 and they don't want to stop to eat and take good care of themselves. But there are also men who need sepia. I had just recently a man in my practice who's a single dad. He's working and he has kids and he's tired, and he's a very gentle, nurturing, kind man. He's very much in touch with his female side, and he's exhausted, and he needs sepia because he's in it. 200 years ago, what might have been a woman's role, taking care of children and being tired from that. Coffea is a homeopathic remedy, and it's made from coffee. It's a great remedy for insomnia, and the special kind of insomnia that it's for, it's called sleeplessness from joy. So typically, a woman who's getting married the next day, for example, and she's just so excited, or somebody who's going on vacation, or something really wonderful is happening, and they can't sleep. That would be a typical thing for Coffea. But then I just read, actually in Homeopathy today, somebody who had used it for kids who get into that tired and wired pattern. That's such a common pattern. I have so many parents telling me these days that their kids get into the tired and wired pattern. So this woman said, for my grandchildren, Coffea works perfectly. I would definitely try it for kids. The kids are like, they should have gone to bed a while ago, but they're just they don't want to go to sleep, so they're stimulating themselves by running around more and more, and then the adults are looking at them and saying, this is just totally heading for a meltdown of some kind. Somebody's going to get hurt, or somebody's going to get jealous, or they're going to be screaming in a minute. So that would be a good time to try Coffea. Breast cancer prevention. I mentioned melatonin. Here's another wonderful thing you could do. The cruciferous vegetables, your broccoli, Brussels sprouts, they have something in them that's very good, very protective for the breasts. Another wonderful thing you can do is called breast self-massage. It's actually kind of like breast self-exam, but the way you feel about it is totally different. With breast self-exam, you're thinking, oh my God, am I going to find something? What am I going to find? And a lot of women don't like to do it because the fact is breasts are lumpy because there's like glands in there, there's stuff in there. So pretty much you find something and then you have to worry, like, what is it? That's something you can lie awake worrying about. You find one of those lumps. Here's a couple of suggestions. If you can find the exact same lump in the mirror image place in the other breast, it's probably not cancer, because cancer doesn't usually happen in both breasts at the same time in the same place. So it's probably a natural part of your breast. And also, if you're still menstruating and that lump gets bigger and smaller with your hormones, again, cancer doesn't do that. And usually the natural structures in there tend to be more kind of squishy and soft, and typically, it's not always painful. Sometimes cancer isn't painful, but a lot of times it's more hard. It's like a hard little thing in there. We don't want to think that it might be cancer, but I'm telling you, if you find a lump, how to be sure that it's probably not cancer, and then you don't have to worry about it. But a better thing even than thinking about maybe once a month, did I remember to do it this month or not, doing a breast self-exam. An even better thing to do is breast self-massage, which you could do anytime you take a shower. There's a wonderful video on my YouTube channel of a massage therapist demonstrating breast self-massage. It's a great way to get the lymph flowing. And this is a problem for our breasts. It's one of the reasons that it's a common area for cancer. There's a few reasons. One is that fat is the tissue that stores toxins in our body, and breasts are largely made of fat. So the body's putting all the environmental toxins that we're running into now, it's being stored in our breasts. Not so good. Another thing, of course, is that they're responsive to hormonal fluctuations, and certain types of cancer are responsive to changes in estrogen. But another reason is that usually the way our body uses, the mechanism it uses to carry toxins away is the lymph. And the lymph is kind of like the blood, kind of parallel, except for one thing. The blood has vessels and it has the heart to pump it. So you have the heart pumping and it's squeezing the blood through the arteries and so forth. But the lymph is just kind of sloshing around in between the cells. And there's nothing pumping it. There's nothing making it move unless you're physically moving. And we don't get enough physical exercise in this culture. So if you have a very sedentary job and you're just kind of sitting there, your lymph is just kind of stagnating, especially, it's kind of a dead end in your breast. So I'm going to tell you what to do about that. So breast self-massage is a great way to get the lymph flowing. And another thing is what I call the boob bounce. And the boob bounce involves taking off your bra and getting a little mini trampoline or jumping rope. Unless you're large-breasted and you want to wear kind of a soft bra, if it hurts, of course, to jump up and down. But it's so much fun. If you get yourself a mini trampoline, you know, you can watch TV or do anything while you're jumping on your mini trampoline. You're going to feel like you're like 5 years old. It's a great way to reverse aging, is to feel like you're 5 years old again. So it's really good for your whole body because the lymph in your entire body is getting sloshed. So it's actually very good for your immune system. If you have any doubt about what bras are doing to us, get a book called Dressed to Kill. And it's about a medical anthropologist on Fiji right at the time when bras were being introduced and the breast cancer that started to happen on Fiji among the women wearing bras and not among the women not wearing bras. It's quite something. It's out of print, but you can get it used on Amazon. I would wear a bra the least that you can get away with it. And I would not wear an underwire bra, and that's because the wires of the underwire bra interfere with the flow of your meridians, which is another thing you need to have healthy and happening for your overall health, is for the meridians that are, you know, from the point of view of traditional Chinese medicine, have to do with the energy flow in your body. And the wire, apparently, from my friends who practice traditional Chinese medicine, they totally. There's a different way of examining the breast other than mammography to find out if there's a problem area. It's called thermography. And I really recommend it. It's not exactly a substitute for mammograms. But there's an increasing concern with mammograms that too many, too frequent, and too many mammograms over the course of a lifetime, you're exposing the breast to radiation. And there's some thought that that can actually contribute to breast cancer. So you want to kind of limit mammograms to when you really need them. And the other thing is that mammograms, they don't pick anything up until it's already there. They're not preventive medicine. They don't do anything until it's already there. Thermography is different. And what it does is it detects very subtle variations in the temperature in your skin. So when you go to see, for example, Jackie Bell, who I highly recommend, or anyone else doing thermography, what she would do is she would use a probe and like take temperature readings at different places on your skin, and then have you stand with no clothes on in a not too hot room. It's comfortable, but it's definitely not hot. And you would normally tend to cool down. And what she does is she measures exactly how your body's adjusting to that change in temperature. If there's a spot that's colder than she would expect, it means there's a stagnation there. I was talking about the stagnation of the lymph. It could be a problem area long term. So she'll say, these are areas you really want to look at. If there's a spot that's hot, it means there's inflammation, which is also bad. But it's not bad like cancer or a lump. It's not bad like you have a tumor. It means she's giving you a very, very early reading on the health of your breasts, and then she would give you recommendations. She probably would recommend breast self-massage, but probably also some supplements or a practitioner based on your body and what the risk factors seem to be for your body. And then if it seems like there really is a possibly serious area, then you could go for a mammogram. And in Europe, this is the way it's done. The routine screening is done with thermography, and then the kind of high-risk screening is done with a mammogram. Our body is constantly producing our female hormones, and normally the liver breaks them down, so they don't build up too much. There are many thoughts about why do we have so many hormonal symptoms in this country when you can go to other countries and menopause is considered like this wonderful passage into the wise woman time of life, and women are not really getting hot flashes and other menopausal symptoms. There are different theories. One theory is simply that older women are revered in other cultures and that women feel so positively about entering this time of life, they're not getting physical symptoms. Personally, I think that's true and it's wonderful, but I don't think it's enough to explain why we get these symptoms, because I don't think they're really symptoms that you could kind of talk yourself out of if you felt better about yourself. So another theory is the quality of fats in our diet, not so good. Another one is that, for example, in the East, they really don't have hot flashes and things like that until they start eating at Tokyo Burger or whatever. As long as they're eating soy foods, they tend not to get them. But there's another possible reason, which is that the liver is supposed to be constantly taking our female hormones as they're produced. It's a normal thing. Our body keeps making them, liver keeps breaking them down, they keep getting excreted. But what happens if we have so many toxins in our world that the liver gets so backed up, it just isn't doing its job anymore? Then the female hormones start building up more and more, and then that creates mischief. So one of the kind of holistic ways of dealing with menopause symptoms or PMS is to do a liver cleanse. And that's something you can get at a health food store. They have different herbs. Milk thistle is probably the most famous one, the main one. But herbs tend to like to work together. They work synergistically. So it's actually good to get a blend. If your liver really needs to be cleansed and you're doing it too fast, you could get nauseous, you could get loose stools. Another thing you could get is stuff actually coming out through your skin. So in a way, it's good because it means you really needed it, but you could slow it down. You might be taking the exact number of capsules on the package, but you don't have to do that. You can take a much lesser amount. In fact, what I generally recommend with any kind of detox, look at what it says on the package. If it's telling you 8 a day, 8 tablets, start with 1. Just do 1 for a few days. See how you feel. If you're okay with that, then do 2. Very gradually, start with 1 and build up to what they recommend on the package. Because otherwise you could get into this situation where your body is detoxing too fast. And again, nausea, loose stools, maybe headache because of all the toxins going in your blood circulation through your brain, and sometimes things coming out through the skin.